Good day, good people. We live in a world of pleasure and anxiety, where some are consumed with how best to enjoy themselves and get the most out of life, whereas others are struggling to survive, or are so weighed down with fear of loss that their capacity to live is severely curtailed. Some of us are caught up in both paradigms, especially in our Western society. The death of hundreds of migrants in a boat off the coast of Greece last week is only the latest reminder of the desperation felt by many people in the world, where climate change and the unjust structures of the economic system leave whole populations in situations where they have no hope of a better future without risking everything. War in Europe and the economic shock of Brexit have seen a downturn in our own economic prospects, where for the first time since the end of the Second World War, life expectancy in Britain is falling, and the financial prospects for many look bleak as people are squeezed by the outrageous cost of housing, the lifetime burden of debt for education, and the increased cost of providing for pensions. One of the callings of the church is to be a prophetic voice, and one of the challenges we face is how to speak into this uncertain world. Of course, the dilemmas are not new. The Old Testament prophets like Amos and Micah called the people of their own day to repentance, and especially warning of the consequences of living life without a proper respect for God, who dwells in our midst. The teaching of Jesus Christ and of St. Paul and the tradition of writings that we read in the New Testament make it clear and make the same point over and over again. In Mark 12, 29 to 31, we read, Jesus answered, "The first is this, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbour as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." This teaching is picked up by Matthew and Luke in their Gospels, so it has the ring of the authentic voice of Jesus as it is remembered by different sources, indicating that our capacity to love one another is formed by our capacity to love God and to know ourselves loved by God. I cannot help having a profoundly optimistic view of human nature. And I believe that we are wired for collaboration, that we are made for love and cooperation. So when I see places and situations and people where there is division, alienation and self-preservation at the expense of others, including surrounding oneself with luxuries, there is a fear at the bottom of it, which I think stems from a lack of faith. St. Francis realised this in the mercantile community of the city-state of Assisi, into which he was born at the end of the 12th century, and it's striking how similar to that world our own world is to this day. One difference, of course, is that we have instant communication around the globe, and so our village is no longer the group of houses or the town in which we live. It is the virtual space we create for ourselves on the internet by what we choose to read, what we choose to listen to, or the news channels to which we subscribe, the echo chambers we inhabit online, but also in the friendship circles we join. To what extent are these opportunities to manifest the divine spirit within us, to set ourselves free from the fears within? Or how much are they security blankets and comfort zones designed to protect us from the awkward questions, that are raised by the call to love God and to love our neighbours as ourselves. I'm always conscious that in our church setting, I'm preaching to the converted. You probably would not be watching this if you, at some level, had not already taken steps on the journey of faith. But those of us who are used to the Christian journey must ensure that we are not forgetting the core values by which we should live out our faith, let alone how best to share it in a world masked by fear and injustice, such that people have become immune to that inner voice of grace which God has planted in Jesus Christ.